Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Alon, we asked this question about 26 years ago. And with the Knicks winning the NBA Finals, it feels appropriate to ask it again. So I ask you now, Alon, who let the dogs out?
Who? Yeah, that was awkward with Mike Brown, and and Ernie didn't know how to. For everybody, welcome in. But if you didn't stick after the NBA Finals game, the final game of the finals this year, you missed. Mine, and who let the dogs out, and then Ernie Johnson being like, "Okay, I don't know what the culture on this team is, but they seem to like the Baja Men."
Yeah. Well, Baja Men had a hit song, "Who Let the Dogs Out," and that was the rallying cry of Mike Brown's flag football team, and he applied that to the New York Knicks defense. But yeah, were they do like a Madagascar reference there?
It was Finding Nemo. You remember
Okay.
the seagulls or whoever it is? Mine. And
that's right. No, I got you. Just your opinion, man. Alon to say, Derek Papa, we're coming to you on a Sunday morning, the day after the New York Knicks win their first championship since 1973. And I got to say, I'm a little disappointed that this game did not go 6 games because we both said Knicks in 6. I changed my pick to Knicks in 7. So you were closer, Alon. I'm going to do the hot sauce challenge a little bit here. And we'll talk about the game last night. I got to be honest. I think it was the worst one of the series. As far as the officiating, I think that the NBA tried really hard to have Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs get to a game 6. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll also talk about some news coming up with now the NBA season's over. Sam Amick wrote a very interesting article about the future of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Some teams that are interested in him, most likely the Miami Heat, but there's some other suitors as well. Monty Poole writing that LeBron James is really mulling over going to the Golden State Warriors, so we'll talk about that. And we will talk about the incredibly sad news that happened yesterday. Aldon Smith passing away at the age of 36. Still mixed. I mean, like, I should say mixed reaction, but like you can't believe it, but also it's part of the story, the tragic story of Aldon Smith. So we'll get to that a little later. But let's start with the jubilation of the Knicks winning the NBA Finals. As I said, it's their first championship since 1973. Want to get to the game a little bit later, Alon, but I'm just talking about the Knicks and what they accomplished. And I've brought this up before when the Knicks went to the finals. The Knicks, in my opinion, have always been viewed as one of the biggest franchises in all of basketball. It's the Lakers, it's the Celtics, it's now the Golden State Warriors, and the Knicks have always been part of that conversation as far as what they're worth and their history. They just lost that respect for a long time, where James Dolan, the way he conducted himself as an owner, throwing Charles Oakley out of the arena, and thank God Charles Oakley was able to see those Knicks win last night on the road as opposed to MSG. I don't know if that ban is still in place, but
it's lifted.
It is lifted? Okay. I saw some people tweet that last night. I was like, I don't know if that's actually true, but James Dolan had his moment last night with the Larry O'Brien trophy, but it wasn't about him, in my opinion. It was about Leon Rose, who took over as Knicks president in 2020 and basically changed that franchise. And it's really about Jalen Brunson being now at the seat of the table of the greatest New York athletes of all time. He's there with Derek Jeter and Eli Manning and all of the Knicks greats. And there's an argument to be had that maybe he's the greatest Knick of all time with what he's accomplished. I still would say Clyde Frazier. I mean, the man's a legend. I still would say, in some way, Patrick Ewing, just because Patrick Ewing was huge coming from the Big East to going to the Knicks, first overall pick, the frozen envelope. Even though he never won a championship, I still would hold him higher than Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson plays a gritty style of basketball that I think New Yorkers gravitate towards. So him coming over in what summer was that? It had to be the off season of 2022.
Yeah, 4 years ago, right?
4 years ago, yeah, because he was there with the Dallas Mavericks when the Mavericks lost to the Warriors in the Western Conference Final, and he signs that deal that had a little tampering punishment initially. He signed it a little too early, and people knew that he was talking to the Knicks behind closed doors before the, I guess, legal tampering period or whatever you may call it for the NBA. But he changed the New York Knicks, and the fact that he came over led the way for OG Anunoby and Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns, and the Knicks trusted in him to go get his college teammates for Villanova and Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges. Dante DiVincenzo signed that offseason to join with Jalen Brunson. So, yeah, they trusted that chemistry and the closeness that he had with all of his teammates from college. And by the way, he also got a championship before Luka. Think about that. He left the Dallas Mavericks, where he was the sidekick to Luka, and then wanted to do his own thing with the Knicks. They got a championship before Luka Doncic did. And as I said, it paved the way for all those guys joining. And really, the Knicks, we haven't seen a lot of super teams of late in the NBA, I would say, but I wouldn't even call this a super team because, they're names, but not like big time names. So I think that all the moves that were made, the amount of draft picks that were given up, especially the Mikal Bridges trade, I think was 5 first-round picks. I heard him say it last night when he was on the podium, fuck them picks. It's the same mentality that the LA Rams have right now, which is we're in New York. The Rams are in LA, Knicks are in New York. Let's go big. Let's go get a Jalen Brunson in free agency and sign or trade for some of his college teammates, sign an OG or trade for an OG Anunoby and sign him, and then make a colossal move to get Karl Anthony Towns. So, yeah, to me, it was the Knicks' aggressiveness. And I also give a ton of credit to Mike Brown. I mean, he deserves this, man. From, being a very respected assistant coach with the San Antonio Spurs, learning from Greg Popovich, and then getting his own opportunity with the Cleveland Cavaliers, getting fired twice. The first time was LeBron James basically going to Dan Gilbert and saying, I want him out of here. Then getting another chance with the LA Lakers and how disappointing that team was in 2011, 2012. The big additions of Steve Nash and Dwight Howard. I want to say they were like a 7th seed, whatever they were a huge disappointment. Mm-hmm. He then finds a great landing spot with the Golden State Warriors, and he was beloved by fans and the players. It felt like he was another Draymond Wrangler along with Bob Myers, helping out with the defense. And then he gets filling in for Steve Kerr too during playoff series, and then getting his own opportunity with the Sacramento Kings and turning that team around, and then losing to the Warriors, but being outspoken about De'Aaron Fox and ultimately losing his job because I love Doug Christie, the dude, but he did stab Mike Brown in the back.
Yep.
By going to ownership and wanting that job. So he, lost that gig. And when it was announced that he was going to take over for Tom Thibodeau, I've said it on here and I've said it numerous times. I did not think it was going to be an upgrade. I like Mike Brown, the person. I think that he's a really good assistant coach. I didn't know if he was going to elevate the Knicks to this next level, but he did. He did the damn thing, and he could be cheesy and corny in the press conferences sometimes, screaming, "Who let the dogs out?" But man, he's going to be beloved by Knicks fans for a long time. And lastly, I just want to shout out Mike Breen. He was amazing on the call last night and been amazing throughout his career. But this moment for him, being a New Yorker and being the voice of the Knicks, that had to be special for him. Calling that comeback on Wednesday night, and then last night, the call he had, Knicks fans, it's finally true. I love it when he finally announces that someone's won the championship. I love when he starts with, it's over, it's all over. The Knicks, they've finally done it for the first time since 1973. And I was texting my pops last night. He was hoping that he would do an ode to Marv and just go, yes. and we all, Marv Albert was obviously instrumental in the motivation to a lot of New York broadcasters, my father and, Mike Breen. So it was his own Joe Davis moment where Joe Davis pretty much, announces the Dodgers in every World Series and is the play-by-play for them for them during the regular season. So Yeah, man, I just want to focus, just get your thoughts on the Knicks winning this championship and what it means for New York and that organization before we break down last night's game.
For New York, I mean, it's amazing. As much as crap as James Dolan gets, and well deserved too, for the Charles Oakley thing, for just the way he's kind of managed that organization and MSG in general. I like what he said, and it was almost kind of like a mea culpa, like, hey, I'm owning up to it. I'm sorry it took this long, and I really liked that he said that. But and I like that he said, hey, kind of we're a family kind of deal. And Rose kind of said the same thing. I love what Leon Rose said. That all that stuff was great about how they care about the players and they care about each other. I mean, this team, they're not a super team. Let's hit that point first. They're definitely not. I mean, Jalen Brunson is up there on the at least in contemporary times for the Mount Rushmore or whatever of New York athletes right now. I mean, there's others that he'll never be able to surpass. They're all Yankees, but that was 100 years ago. But Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, what he was able to do. I mean, this team, I don't know if you said it, Derek, or if I heard it somewhere else, but I really like to compare. They're a lot like, not defensively as good, but they're a lot like the Detroit Pistons of the 2000s, where they do have a guard who can score in isolation, make other things happen. They have a very much more skilled offensive big man in terms of Karl Anthony Towns, but then it's a lot of 3-and-D kind of players, and that's what they did. And so it was a gritty style of basketball they played. I loved what Jalen Brunson said. I think it was Jalen Brunson who said, no, it wasn't Brunson. I forget who it was, Derek. You'll have to remind me, but who said, for whatever reason, the game doesn't start until about 30 minutes after tip-off for us. He said that after the game. I forget what player it was. Lisa Salters was saying, why does it take this team a little while to wake up? And it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it was true. Right. And it showed the grit and resilience they had really all this finals. And then they were finally tested, I would say, besides the Atlanta Hawks in this series. But for New York, it's massive. The Yankees haven't won anything for, we're going on 17 years now? Is that about right? 2009?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could be 17 years depending on what they do this year. You do have the championships with Eli and the Giants, but that's well far in the rearview mirror as well. So I think for New York, it was a really great moment. I think it's something that basketball fans have been waiting for a long time. I mean, I'm not an Eastern Conference guy. I've always been a Warriors fan, but I don't know. Are the Knicks hateable? Are the Knicks really hateable? Is it easy to hate the Knicks? I mean, I guess maybe if you're Boston or someone like that, maybe you do because, it's New York, Boston kind of thing. But I think this was a team that America kind of got behind. We wanted to see the drama of them finally breaking the streak of being so bad and not winning anything for over 40 years. I thought that was, or 50 years, 53 years. I think the other thing, Mike Breen, you mentioned, I love that. We finally got to see the curtain get peeled back a little bit. We got to see it at the very end because I think it was Richard Jefferson who said, and Mike, this is a team that you've been with for so long and that you've, given so much to. And Mike, after his final call, which was still totally professional, even though in his heart he wanted the Knicks to win, no doubt about it. After Richard Jefferson kind of teed him up for that, after the game had been over, Mike kind of got to talk a little bit about that. And I thought that was great too, because it has been a long time. I mean, think about this. It's not quite the Cubs, but there have been Knicks fans who have been born and died who never saw them win a championship. Yeah. Or there are ones that were born and were very, very little, right, when they won in the 70s and then died. And so I just thought they gave the moment everything it deserved. I thought the Spurs fans were, I expected them to boo at the end of the game, made sense, but they kind of held restraint, at least within the arena, when Ernie Johnson was hosting all that stuff post game. And then I also thought that
they might have left at that point too, though.
Maybe hitting up the last bars that are still open around the area. I mean, a lot of depressing drinks there for sure. But right. I thought from top to bottom, it was great. I do wish we could have got more games out of it because it was such a monumental series. But just fitting in so many ways. The last time the Knicks were in the championship was against the Spurs. They're able to avenge that, even though it's 27 years later. Just, I don't know, monumental moment. Not a super team, Not a team I think that would win too many other finals against some of the other 7 teams that have won over the past 8 years, but a team that did what they needed to do, went on a legendary run, and finally paid one off for New York. I don't think this is going to be a new dynasty or anything like that, but a great moment for New York nonetheless. So just a massive moment. And then you could see some of the videos that were coming out from New York City. I mean, people were going nuts, and they should be. I mean, they've been waiting for a winner for so long, but especially with this franchise especially, because this franchise has not won a lot, and especially recently. So good for them.
Yeah, and that's why I think that they're not hateable. I think that there's a lot of likable guys on this team. Yeah. And I think that that's rare with New York teams. Like, most people hate the Yankees. People feel indifferent about the Giants, I think, because they were the underdogs to defeat the New England Patriots, and they were, the evil empire in many people's eyes. With the Knicks, I think people mock their fans because they think that the Knicks are a big deal, and they were or they were at one point in time. But for our lifetime, Alon, they were a joke. So I think that that's why people really didn't care about, shitting on the Knicks. I mean, they did, but also when they got good, people kind of wanted to see it as well. Because honestly, I think that basketball in New York, they just go hand in hand with each other. Like I talked about it last time when they won the Eastern Conference, but going to Rucker Park or, the hip hop scene, that's kind of synonymous with the Knicks. Honestly, in the 90s when they had John Starks and those teams, and Biggie Smalls is rapping about John Starks and the Wu-Tang Clan. We saw it in the halftime show, but they're wearing their gear. I just think that the Giants are big. I think Lawrence Taylor made the Giants big in the 80s. And obviously they were big when they won the 2 Super Bowls recently with Eli. The Yankees are always going to be the kings of New York. I think a close second are the New York Knicks. It's just that basketball in New York, there's just something about it I think that people gravitate towards. So when it comes to this team, yeah, it is kind of interesting where, they were a 3 seed. Many people, including me, thought that the Celtics were going to be that team that, without Jason Tatum for the majority of the season, they're the 2 seed. Most likely they're going to be that team that represents the East, and they lose in the first round. I think that, yeah, it's rare you see where the whole country gets behind one team. And I think that, there was intrigue with Victor Wembanyama, but I think if you ask most people, I think they wanted the Knicks to win, because I think the Knicks obviously transcend more than just New York. It's where, I was at a bar last night and there was a ton of people rooting for the Knicks. That was the case for most of the games I watched at a bar. It was overwhelmingly Knicks fans because they're that type of team that, California, there's a lot of transplants. So you got a lot of people from New York come here. So there's bound to be obviously New York, fans still in this area. So yeah, I would just say that even though most fans hate New York teams, somehow, some way, the Knicks were beloved during this run. I don't know if that's going to be the case going forward now that they have a championship. I think that, we'll have interest in other teams. But yeah, I think for, how big New York is and the media market it is, they needed a winner in basketball, and they waited quite some time for that. So I'm happy they won. I wanted them to, I wanted the series to go a little longer. Knicks in 6 would have been fine with me. But yeah, we got it in 5, and we'll talk about the Spurs. They have a lot of growing up to do. Yeah. And I would say Victor Wembanyama has a lot of growing up to do. Great player. I think I lost a little bit of respect for him in this series, just a little bit. But as far as the game last night, 94-90, the Knicks win in 5. I want to get your thoughts first, Alon, but I'll just say this. I thought last night's game was officiated horribly. And I'm not a guy that usually bangs the table and says they lost because of the refs. I don't like doing that. But last night, I thought it was egregious. Not so much in the earlier games. Last night, I thought, wow, the NBA's really trying to make this game 6 for the Spurs.
Yeah, no, you could see it. Karl-Anthony Towns, I did think, earned about half his fouls, but maybe not the other half. But yeah, the officiating was really bad. There was a lot of, I think that is part of why San Antonio was able to get out to some, especially later in the series, some of these early leads is just the mugging and grabbing they were able to do early in games. But yeah, the officiating, I liked it for most of the series, but last night was one of the worst games in terms of officiating. But you're right, Derek. They do have a lot of growing up to do. Some of it definitely, I think most of the growing up is on Wemby, and that's fine, and it's totally acceptable and realistic to view it that way because he's such a young player and he's already gotten to this moment now. So what does he do in the future? But he does not, for whatever reason, seem to have that. I don't want to say he doesn't have a killer instinct. He does. We've seen him do it in the regular season. We've seen him do it in playoff games. But for whatever reason in this series, and it could be stamina, it could be because of the usage rate and the way that they use him for most of the game. But in the fourth quarter, he just would kind of disappear. And that was a big issue for me. You see De'Aaron Fox trying to take over the game. He was borderline. I texted you, Derek. He was borderline unplayable. I mean, his efficiency was horrendous. Castle disappeared. I mean, just all those role players who made the team better on their run through the Western Conference just did not show up last night. And, you know, it was a trend. It was a trend we saw in this series that in the fourth quarter, the Spurs fade. And I don't know why that is. I think it has to do with the way that they play and their shot selection. But, and it has to do with maturity on the coaching staff too, because you know, it's a top-down type of organization. That's the structure that Pop laid out, and they're still following. But they just seem to run out of steam, and I think the Knicks knew that in the back of their mind every single game, especially after they had the massive comeback. So it's hard. It was hard to watch. It was as if the Spurs were right there, and this series was there for the taking for them, Derek. But they just could not find it in the fourth quarter. And for so many possessions, it just looked like they're either not on the same page, Wemby's tired and doesn't want to take some of those mid-range jumpers that I definitely think he should take. De'Aaron Fox trying to do too much. I mean, it's hard to encapsulate other than they miss shots, but they miss shots that they shouldn't be taking either. And that was in this past game and the game before as well. So I think the Spurs, the blame definitely should be laid at the feet of Wemby because he is their star player. That being said, you can't have De'Aaron Fox going 3 of 15. On the other side of things, Jalen Brunson, I give him all the credit. We were talking about Karl Anthony Towns early in the series, and for good reason, but Jalen Brunson was able to, you know, start to be more efficient in terms of his shot selection and making things and heating up. And I thought he had something that the Spurs did not have. De'Aaron Fox tried to do it, but couldn't get it done. What Jalen Brunson was able to do was when the play breaks down, when things aren't going right, even when double teams are being thrown at him, he's able to figure out a way to get through a really tough as nails defense and make tough shots. And the Spurs didn't have that. The Knicks had that. And usually it's a wing who does those things, but we see the game also be guard-centric, especially now kind of with the positionless basketball. Jalen Brunson is a classic scoring guard who can just make things happen. So it was really good to watch. It was what he did last night was like what Allen Iverson did against the Lakers all those years ago in game 1 of the finals.
2001,
2001. He was able to take over the game against a team that was not going to let you in the lane, a team that was going to defend you inch by inch, and he was still able to take it over. It was very impressive to watch. So my thoughts on the game were this. And this can go for most of the series, if not the entire series, Derek. The Spurs had every chance to win these games, and they just weren't able to find a way to do it. And I do think it's because of the lack of aggression that Victor had in the fourth quarter in every single one of these games.
I want to go to the Spurs a little bit here, but just focusing on last night's game, and as I said, the officiating was atrocious. It was. That non-call on Victor Wembanyama, the closeout where Jalen Brunson has a three-point shot and comes down and he's in the landing zone. Jalen Brunson was called for the same play earlier in the series. And the fact that Wembanyama was not called for a flagrant there, that adds to, honestly, the shadiness of referees in the NBA. Like Scott Foster's officiating that game last night. We all know Scott Foster was affiliated with Tim Donaghy back in the day. And I don't want to go down that road right now, but like that was an egregious call. And the NBA does not want to suspend Victor Wembanyama if the series goes on. I get that. But it was a bad call. It was a horrendous call. I thought the overturn where Wembanyama and Cat were guarding each other. And it was overturned once again, where it was initially a foul on Wembanyama, and then it got changed to a foul on Karl-Anthony Towns, and he needs to sit. He was a non-factor in the last 2 games of the series because of fouls. And that's on Karl-Anthony Towns, but it's also on the officiating too, where I was like, that's a little much. And he only had 2 points last night. So, it's kind of where you were a participant in a group project, but you really didn't do much. I take that back, because Karl-Anthony Towns was fantastic defensively and offensively the first 2 games of the series. It was where he got into foul trouble. OG Anunoby as well last night, but I thought it was more on the referees that were trying to give more of a chance to Victor Wembanyama. Also, the play where Josh Hart got pushed in the back by De'Aaron Fox, that was a flagrant. I didn't understand that either. So, look, I'm never going to say like it'd be easy to say today like the Spurs, if they won last night, the Spurs won because the officials made it that way. But I'm not going to do that. And I think that justice was served with the Knicks winning in the end. But it led to some horrible basketball, I got to be honest. The first 3 quarters, it harkened back to the old days where, God, what was the score at halftime? It was
low. It was 30. The Knicks
42
had 37.
to 37. 42 to 37 at halftime. Think about that.
Yeah.
Some quarters end with 2 teams scoring 42 or 37 points. I know it was like more old school with the defense and everything, but it really wasn't actually. It was just because both teams were shooting horribly. Yes, the Spurs were playing better than the Knicks, but the Knicks, again, yes, I thought they got screwed on calls last night, but they played like dog shit for the majority of that game. The game really didn't get great until the 4th quarter, to be honest. So I thought it was mediocre offensive basketball. The Spurs were playing better. Wembanyama had a ton of aggression to start, 3 block shots, I think, like within the first 2 minutes of the game. Dylan Harper playing well too, but Stephon Castle, inexcusable with the performance he had last night. And you mentioned Aldon, De'Aaron Fox too. The last 2 games, we killed him for that play where he went up and tried to get a layup to extend the lead for the Spurs, but got blocked by OG Anunoby. And last night, just terrible shots from the Spurs in the 4th quarter. They just don't have that clutch gene. They don't have that championship DNA right now, where it wasn't a question for the majority of the playoffs, but even the Knicks, who don't have finals experience, showed so much more experience than the Spurs. And yes, they've been more playoff proven, but it was just like, oh my God, how is this team going to lose it tonight? That's how it felt every single night with the Spurs. Yeah. So the 4th quarter, even though it felt like the Spurs were dominating most of that game, and they were at one point, they were up by 16. It felt like the Spurs were dominating that game, but only led 72 to 65 entering the 4th quarter. The Knicks go on a 10-0 run. They tie the game up at 83 for the first time since they went up 3-2 in the 1st quarter. And the Spurs crumbled down the stretch. As I said, they missed shots and layups from De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Dylan Harper. That one missed layup, dude, that was heartbreaking because he played well for the majority of the game. But Wemby missed 3 throws. So did Dylan Harper as well. So, yeah, like I said, it's just the inexperience of the Spurs here. And I think that they have to look themselves in the mirror this offseason and be like, this is going to be good for us. Most teams, really in the NBA, you have to learn how to lose before you win. And I know that sounds like a Trent Dilfer-like statement. We're like, what the hell are you saying there, Derek? But I think that, honestly, that applies to young teams in the NBA. Like OKC lost in 6 to the Dallas Mavericks a year before they won the championship. The Warriors had to lose to the San Antonio Spurs or the LA Clippers in 7 before they won the championship. It just felt like the Spurs were having all this instant success. And some people can also critique that maybe they had an easy path. It doesn't sound like an easy path on paper with the teams they played, but Portland was banged up. Minnesota was banged up. OKC was banged up. And Wembanyama played great in those series. But this series, you just saw the inexperience, and you saw Wembanyama, as you said last podcast, Aldon, he's a little dirty.
Yeah.
He just he could have got another flagrant earlier in the season earlier in the series where he popped Jalen Brunson in the face, and he acts like he should get all the. It's the Luka effect where he feels like he should get all the calls but he never gets calls against him.
Yeah.
Just watching that last night. And yes, he's incredibly talented and he has more size than anybody else. There's no excuses with the way he plays sometimes. He was terrible game one. Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby, and Cat got to him game one. He played better game two, but inexcusable with that turnover to Stephon Castle in the closing seconds. Game three, he played great. Game four, he needed to be clutch in the fourth quarter, and last night he needed to be clutch in the fourth quarter. So I think Wembanyama, as I said earlier, I lost a little bit of respect for him with just some of his antics in this series and the way he played. And I anointed him the next great player in this league, and I said he is the best player in this league. I may need to pump the brakes on that one because obviously he has the potential, but it's like Justin Herbert with me, where like I love Justin Herbert as a quarterback. He has all the tools to be great. He just doesn't show it all the time. He plays terrible in the postseason. Wembanyama in the finals, he needs to be the best player on the court, and he wasn't that guy. He was for maybe the majority of games, and then Jalen Brunson proved to be that guy. And by the way, Jalen Brunson's performance last night, 45 points in an NBA Finals closeout game where he scored 45. The rest of the Knicks team scored 49. Nobody else scored more. No, I don't have the box score in front of me, but no one else scored in the 20s. The bench, I think, scored a total of 9 points last night. So Jalen Brunson, more than deserving of Finals MVP. But yeah, the Spurs collectively as a team need to look themselves in the mirror and say this could be good for us. We're a young team. De'Aaron Fox, we'll see about his future. I think he's going to be there. He's under contract for quite some time. But you heard in the post game, I forget who it was. It might have been Castle or Vassell, but someone was mentioning how Dylan Harper is not happy with his playing time. For a second overall pick, he wants to play a little bit more. So that may be a move they make down the line. But yeah, Wembanyama, Mitch Johnson, and everybody on the Spurs needs to look at themselves in the mirror this offseason and say, how do we grow from this? How do we mature as a team and learn how to close out games in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, that was the thing. And I mean, not to put it all on one player, but in those moments, look, in those moments, the Knicks did put it all on one player. They put it on Jalen Brunson, and he delivered. He delivered massively for them. And the Spurs, I felt like they didn't put it all on Victor, and they should have. That needed to be his moment to take over the game in the fourth quarter. When that run is made to when it's 83-83, right? And then eventually the Knicks take the lead. And then it's possession after possession of sloppy basketball from the Spurs, block shots at the rim, missed layups, things like that. I don't blame Harper for the one that it's unfortunate, but that happens sometimes in basketball. But Victor's 1 of 5 in the fourth quarter, Derek. And it's just, that's not what you need. And 2 of them were 3-pointers that he didn't need to take either.
Yeah.
So I just, well, one was at the very end of the game. So I'll excuse that one. But still, the game is within reach there. I just feel like they are not, for whatever reason, he does not put them in a position, or he did not put them in a position to win. He didn't put himself in a position to win every possession. I think early in games, he's decent in terms of getting to the rim, getting to the foul line, doing different things. Fourth quarter rolls around, and it's kind of like, hey, let's rely on some of the other guys, which is fine every once in a while. But man, if you're the most talented or one of the most talented players in the league, and you have the ability to shoot over anyone, I don't care who it is, even Mitchell Robinson, who played really good defense on him, he can still shoot over him and get him into foul trouble. I mean, just take the game over, buddy. Do what you did in game 3. And he just didn't do it. And it was very frustrating to watch. I think part of it is he doesn't have a back to the basket game. Look, that is a big part of it. There is no fadeaway repertoire he just doesn't have that sophistication in his game, but he has other things. He can get to the rim at will. He can tip in his own misses. He can do all kinds of things that other players can't dream of doing just because of his physical ability. And he has a good basketball IQ as well. So it was frustrating to watch him falter down the stretch. It just is. And then on the other side, you see a player who could miss 15 shots in a row in terms of Jalen Brunson. Not that he did, but he could, and he will just keep coming back at you. He doesn't get discouraged. I think that was one of the big differences. I think Wemby gets discouraged or got discouraged during times in this series and decided to look for other players. That's why we saw some of the ball dominance out of De'Aaron Fox. There's no other explanation for it, unless some people want to say he's a mercenary and went rogue. I don't believe that. I really do think it's because Victor at times is like, I don't have it right now. I need to distribute. I need to be a rebounder. I need to be a rim runner, things like that. It's like, no, dude, you need to get to the rim with the ball in your hand, and at the very worst, get to the foul line, because there's no one who's defending you. It's like Giannis. I mean, who's going to defend Giannis on a drive? No one does. Victor is not the driver that Giannis is, but he can get to the hoop and do things around the basket. Even when he's 14 feet out, it's basically a layup for him. So I thought that was the big difference for the Spurs. They do have growing up to do, Derek. What Castle did last night was not good at all. 1 for 10, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a collective effort. And it was a collective effort to cough up another lead. And I know the double-digit lead was early, but it was another collective effort to cough up another lead and then not have a response. They just didn't have a response to the Knicks' defensive intensity and or their determination to keep coming back even when things aren't going right. The Knicks had that in this series and almost in every game, and the Spurs didn't. The Spurs were the front runners. The Knicks were the ones who were getting off the deck, getting off the mat after taking a big knockdown shot and getting back up. And that's what I really noticed.
No, definitely. And I would say, when it comes to Wembanyama, as I said, I lost a little respect for him, but I still respect his game a ton. But we go back to, I guess it was 1991, the Eastern Conference Finals, where the Bulls finally beat the Pistons after losing to them 2 times before. And the thing that everybody remembers is Isaiah Thomas and everybody walking off the court and not shaking anybody's hands.
Before the game ends.
Yes, before the game ends. Last night, Wembanyama, I don't know what happened after the game. Maybe he went to go see players later on, did not shake anybody's hand, just went straight to the tunnel. And that's part of the maturity as well. De'Aaron Fox, I did see go into the locker room to give credit to his former coach, Mike Brown, even though we know what they've been through in the past within Sacramento. He said that him and Brunson were the true MVP. So that's a classy move by De'Aaron Fox. But Wembanyama needs to, if he's going to be the next great player in this league, he needs to realize what that moment means when you lose. Like, there's a lot of great quarterbacks that have lost championships, and they stay on the field to congratulate the opposing quarterback. It should have been where Wembanyama stays on the court and gives a gigantic hug to Jalen Brunson. That's part of being the next great player in this league. You can't walk away early like that and then go seem a little defensive in the post-game interview and tell the media, talk to you guys. Never. Like, the whole thing was just awkward, and that's where, I know he's young, but Wembanyama needs to grow up a little bit in that regard. Karl-Anthony Towns, even though he did not have a great performance last night, give that guy a lot of credit too, because he was given the title of soft for quite some time. Yeah. And that was really because of one person in particular, Jimmy Butler. And I love Jimmy Butler today, being on the Golden State Warriors. We'll see when he returns from his ACL tear, but we go back to the Minnesota training camp episode where it's him kind of being like A.J. Brown a little bit, like challenging everybody in practice and telling Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns, you guys fucking need me. And he's doing it with the second-string players. Then moments later, he's doing an interview with Rachel Nichols and pretty much calling out the whole team. And, yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns was a great offensive player, but he was not known for his defense, and I thought he changed that whole perception of him in this series. He's played great defense, since leaving Minnesota, and even at times when he was with the Timberwolves. But I think that he's come a long way, and he's dealt with a ton with his mother passing away 6 years ago during COVID. It was awful. So, yeah, I think that Karl-Anthony Towns, even though he didn't have the best performance last night, I give him a ton of credit, and give credit to Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins winning championships before Jimmy Butler. And like I said, I love Jimmy Butler, but for a guy that called both of those guys out saying they're not good enough to win, I think both of them proved him wrong. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Because Andrew Wiggins with the Warriors and now Karl-Anthony Cat with the Knicks. But Karl-Anthony Towns he was not the offensive force that we're used to seeing him be last night, but he still did rebound. He still did his job defensively. The foul trouble really hurt him the last couple of games. I mean, just almost unfair in a way for a player of his caliber to be having the quick whistle right around him. So I didn't like that at all. But yeah, credit to him, big time. You could see he was one of the happiest guys. I thought the two happiest people on that stage were him and Mike Brown in a lot of ways, because they got to rewrite narratives about themselves. Karl Anthony Towns, like you say, being called soft. He's not soft, and I don't think he ever really has been. Maybe he wasn't known as a defensive force. You know who's a soft center in this league? It's Joel Embiid, who every time Nikola Jokic plays against Joel, it's like, oh, my back hurts or something like that. Come on. And Embiid's a phenomenal player. He just doesn't play all the time.
Yeah.
But he's not soft. He rewrote that narrative. So that's great for him. And he didn't have the night that he wanted to have, but he still contributed to that team winning. He still had 10 rebounds, was good defensively, did his job. Mike Brown, I want to bring him up before I lose the thought, but he rewrote a narrative about himself. And the same way that I said that Jalen Brunson, for instance, could not be having the best night, but he'll just keep coming and he will just keep battling and take those shots. I thought there were moments in this series where Mike Brown was being outcoached, yet he figured out a way to just keep coming with force, keep energizing his guys, switch things up defensively. I got you. What are you rolling with today, Derek?
Oh no, sorry. I did not mean to interrupt, Aldon. I was just showing everybody. I got the hot sauce ready because you picked the Knicks in 6. I picked the Knicks in 7 because we wanted the same thing, but I changed mine. So I'll do the hot sauce as soon as you're done here.
Oh, okay. But what kind of hot sauce are we rolling with?
We got DeBomb Evolution.
That sounds dangerous. That sounds very dangerous.
You know what? It's not as bad as, like the original DeBomb, but it'll make me feel a certain way tomorrow morning.
It'll warm the cockles. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe heat them up. But yeah, I thought Mike Brown was able to rewrite that narrative, and in the way that he did it too, because I had the same opinion as you, Derek. When he gets hired to be the head coach of the Knicks, I'm like, this is a big time team. And he's been in big time situations like in LA, and it just hasn't worked out. I didn't think that was the inspired pick, but maybe with the culture and makeup of this team, he was the right. I mean, we saw it. He was the right guy. He's able to, in his corny, cheesy way, who let the dogs out, all that kind of stuff, get these guys together. And I thought he and the team both embodied the same spirit. It was just, look, maybe we're not the best team in terms of super teams across the league. Maybe we don't have all the amazing talent. We don't have a big 3 or things like that. But we are just going to keep coming, keep playing with force. And Jalen Brunson, I mean, no one can take this away from him, and it's a legendary finals that he just had. So that's my thoughts. I can go into the Spurs and their shot charts, shot selection, all that stuff. At the end of the day, they didn't have the killer instinct, and they didn't have the stick-to-itiveness that the Knicks had. The Knicks just were not. They were going to fight until they died, and that's what they did.
No, absolutely. And, a powerful moment with him and his father there when, being on the staff. And I think it was not a demand, but something that needed to be done where whatever coach came in needed to keep Jalen Brunson's father on staff. And that's got to be tough. That's got to be tough with your father on staff, where he could be equal parts supportive, but also overly critical. So I can imagine that. I, work with my father, but I can imagine playing athletics with him in a professional setting like that. So that's got to be difficult, but power to Jalen Brunson. He was unbelievable this final series. And yeah, he'll, Rockanewer X in the chat. And I brought it up earlier, but asks, and what up, Danny Golding TV? People just acknowledging people in the chat right now. But Rockanewer asked, where does Brunson rank in Knicks franchise? Same as Ewing or surpassed him? I said, I think Ewing's still above him, but that's just me, and how Patrick Ewing was perceived in the 80s and 90s. I put him in the category, just that era of players that played against Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Chris Mullin. He's a Hall of Famer, and I don't see that from Jalen Brunson right now. But is he at the table with Eli Manning and, Derek Jeter and, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera, all these great New York athletes, David Tyree, is he there with them? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But is he the greatest Knick of all time? I don't know. That's a conversation for Knicks fans. But I will say this. I found it very interesting that I said the other day on this podcast and on Dirty Work, the radio show I do, that the OG Anunoby tip-in is not going to be the biggest moment in Knicks history because I think Willis Reed coming back for Game 7 probably is a bigger moment. But it's not a play. So I heard Larry David say this on with Rich Eisen. I heard Sam Amick. And again, Sam Amick is, in his – I'm not going to age Sam, so I actually don't know, so I shouldn't say that. But he knows basketball history, but not being closely, linked to the Knicks. But he says that without a question, that is a franchise-defining moment. And I think Larry David said he puts it number one all time as the greatest New York sports moment. So that could be the case with OG. I mean, think about it. The fact that they came back and that gave them a 3-1 lead, and ultimately the next game they win it. Yeah, it could be the case where OG Anunoby, his tip-in Game 4 is the greatest moment in Knicks history. So as far as the conversation with Jalen Brunson, he's the greatest Knick of all time, I don't know. If you're asking me, I would say that's too soon. But when it's all said and done, maybe. And now I'm going to eat this chip.
No, go for it. Rockin', to answer your question, my perspective, I still have Ewing on top because Ewing is one of the best players ever at his position. And he was drafted as the savior of a franchise that was fumbling for such a long time and really carried them. Oof, Derek. Yikes. Not fun, but it happens. Yeah, just don't chug it. Now
I'm making that mistake, my friend.
I still have Ewing up there. Yeah, I paid for it dearly the next day, but I still have Ewing up there. Jalen Brunson, though, he is at that table of all-time New York great athletes just because of the performance that he did in a vacuum, that he had in a vacuum of this series. I will say about the OG play, I'm thinking about that, and I would put that at the level of the David Tyree play. So those two plays in terms of New York plays, because they're so improbable and so timely in why they happened and what needed to happen in those games, I put those two plays right next to each other. And if you're a football fan, you're saying, oh, a helmet catch is way harder than a tip-in. Well, you know what? To be able to time that up, run through the lane, and have that, just the dexterity and the control to do that, it's just as difficult maybe. So both those plays were season-defining and team-defining. When we think about the plays out of that Super Bowl, right, we always think of the helmet catch. When we think of the plays, when they start replaying clips from this series, what is going to be like the number one play? It's going to be the culminating tip-in from OG Anunoby to secure the biggest finals comeback of all time in Game 4. So I put those plays right up with each other. And, OG, they should build a statue of him, or at least cast his hand in bronze or something like that with a ball, because they need to commemorate that somehow.
No, I agree. And I think that it was more New York in the moment with that game being an MSG and all those fans being there. And some made the trip to San Antonio. I saw obviously Chalamet and Ben Stiller being there. Spike Lee. Sorry, the hot sauce is getting to me more than usual because I'm a little hungover today. I was watching the game at a bar last night, but man, I'm sweating.
What were you drinking? Sweat it out. Sweat that alcohol out. What were you drinking, Derek?
Some beers. Capped it off with a little tequila to end the night. But yeah, I'm feeling a little bit today. But it was fun watching that game last night. The Knicks and their fans. The fans deserve this. Even the celebrity fans that get the free tickets from James Dolan, Ben Stiller, Taylor Swift. I guess she goes back with the team, though. I saw Amari Stoudemire saying that she's been a diehard Knicks fan for quite some time. She only just wore the Cavs stuff because of Travis. So maybe, I don't know. I think she would be a 76ers fan because she was an Eagles fan, but I don't know. Whatever. I think Ben Stiller revealed to the NBA guys that he doesn't actually have season tickets. It's where James Dolan just allows all these celebrities to show up. So whatever. Yeah. It's good to have the hookup. But the moment for Spike Lee, I mean, that guy's been around. The Knicks, I mean, if you're not even a sports fan, I think you would know, like, him getting into it, Reggie Miller in the 94 playoffs. Unbelievable. Yeah, choking. So that's a great moment for him to show up. He has his problems with James Dolan, so he pays for his own tickets. But
Which is a classy thing to do. I mean, if I was that wealthy, I would pay for my own tickets. I'd like to think I would pay for my own tickets as well if I had the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was there in San Antonio last night. All the fans, all the celebrity fans, but all like the hardworking blue collar fans for that moment last night. It must have been unbelievable. And that's why, like, my buddy, Aram from the days of Schroeder's, he texted me right before we hopped on here, and he said, I got to say, man, the first thing I thought of last night watching the Knicks fans celebrate was it's when you have a team that's homegrown like that. Like, Knicks were born in New York, they stayed in New York. And having that celebration just means so much more when you don't have a championship for that long, and that city has been just, hungry for it for quite a long time now, 53 years. It means more. And the celebration cannot be topped. Like, we'll see the parade in the next couple of days here, but last night you had to where taxi cabs were taking over. And, taxi drivers just giving up their cars, being like, I can't do anything about it. Go ahead, guys, celebrate. Or like bus drivers breakdancing with fans. Like, the entire streets of New York were engulfed with fans. And Aram, in the end, texted me saying, that's why I think if the Raiders ever do win a championship, it's going to be hard for Vegas to really have that scene we saw last night. And again, most cities are not going to have that scene in New York, but just a city like that where the fans, from day one, they were born into it. You grew up in New York, you're probably, born into being a Knicks fan. Like, people didn't grow up being a Nets fan. With Raiders, you're born into it in Oakland at a certain age. And now some fans will be born into it in Las Vegas, but it wasn't their team initially. So I hear him on that. I don't want to make a big deal about that. But yeah, I think it just means a lot to the city of New York and that team finally getting over the hump and win that championship. So can't wait for the parade. It's going to be electric. I don't know what day it's happening this week, but you got to believe it'll be a star-studded affair with all the celebrities involved. And, I'm sure we'll have very lively speeches from, some of the players. So, and Mike Brown too. I can't wait for that. So I'm looking forward to the parade this week. It'll be fun.
I want to see if Mike Brown dances to the Baja Men. I want to see. I need a moment. Sure. Yeah, still legendary dances in celebration parade history. Mark Mattson still number one. Oh yeah. If we think about dancing for college championships for basketball, we got Joakim Noah, epic dance move. So I want to see if Mike Brown can top them, or if he's actually a good dancer. We don't know. Some people would argue Mark Mattson was a great dancer. I'm not one of them, but yeah, no, I agree with you about the homegrown thing. And when you've been waiting that long, I was thinking about it. The Warriors, we've talked about them before, and most of our people are from the Bay Area, of course, and our Warrior fans. They unite the Bay. And when they were able to win that first championship and break through in Steve Kerr's first year, yeah, I mean, that was a massive celebration. That was just huge. When the Giants won their World Series and had their parade, and you could, I was in the city that day, and for better or for worse, you could open up the window or you could walk around and just smell the marijuana everywhere, and people were just partying. It was that kind of moment. It's going to be that same kind of moment in New York City, and it's going to be that. I don't know when their parade is, but it has been that moment and will be that moment from the time they just won the championship, literally as soon as those zeros went on the clock, until that parade happens. And then, because they're Knicks fans, Derek, it's going to be that way for the next 50 years. Oh, yeah, dude. Exactly. It'll be where they relish this for quite some time, but the whole city of New York will be shut down when the parade goes down. New York Stock Exchange, everything will be shut down when the Knicks are having their parade. So, yeah. It is very much, it's different. It's probably bigger, but it is similar to when the Warriors finally won it and the jubilation that we felt right over here, at Grand Lake when the Warriors won that parade. The Giants, same thing. So good comparisons, Alon. And now as the finals end, we go into the offseason of basketball. And I guess the biggest story that is going to happen maybe the next couple of weeks here is, where is Giannis Antetokounmpo going to be traded to? And it sounds like the most likely destination is the Miami Heat. So just some NBA news to look for. The Giannis trade.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here real quick. Sorry. You have the Giannis trade coming before the NBA draft, and that will take place on June 23rd. So you got to believe that he may be traded this upcoming week. Who knows? But Sam Amick, our guy, wrote in the Athletic that Miami, Boston, and Minnesota are in the mix. Miami's offer would be, at this point, Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware. I don't know some of these names, so if I butcher them, I apologize. Jaime Jaquez.
Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah. Palel Larson. I could be screwing that up entirely. And 3 first-round picks. And I think people are saying that that's the most likely destination because of the amount of players that could be traded and the amount of picks that could be traded. And Giannis really wants to go to Miami. Of course, that's a fantastic destination just for life. But there's also the Celtics. And the Celtics want Giannis to sign a 4-year, $275 million extension. Or I guess not extension, but deal with the Boston Celtics if you were to be traded to that team. Now, I don't know why most teams wouldn't want that. Like, if I'm giving up the moon and I'm the Miami Heat, I want the same thing. I want a 5-year deal. If you're the Minnesota Timberwolves or anybody that's in the mix right now, it has to be where Giannis is signing a contract. I guess an extension, yeah, because it's a previous deal. He has to sign for the long haul if I'm going to trade for him. So I don't know why that's just a sticking point with the Celtics and why that would stop Giannis. I don't think it would. I think Bill Simmons, I want to say last night when he was doing his finals reaction, is saying, like, don't be surprised if the Celtics actually trade for Giannis. And Jaylen Brown would be in the mix as well. A third team would have to get into the mix. But it sounds like Jaylen Brown, if this trade is to go down, he would be out of Boston and not going to Milwaukee, but someplace else. So as far as Minnesota, that's the last one here. The Timberwolves, the offer that the Bucks want is Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Terrence Shannon, and 2 first-round picks. I think that's a lot. I like Jaden McDaniels a lot. I think you'd have to give him up if you're going to trade for Giannis, but Naz Reid as well. If I'm Minnesota, that's just too much. I would not do that. So it sounds like it's the Heat or the Boston Celtics, which would be very intriguing with Giannis staying in the East and going to 2 teams that honestly were in his way a few times during the NBA playoffs.
That Minnesota deal is the best one. I wonder how realistic that is, that Minnesota would actually be giving those things up. Right. In terms of going to the Heat, that would be a dream destination. Boston would be the best destination just in terms of winning basketball, but the Heat have been really good ever since Pat Riley took over things there, pretty much. I mean, they've just been consistent, and Eric Spoelstra's a great head coach. But Giannis, I think there is some trepidation, and there should be, even though he is who he is and is so talented on the court. I mean, injury problems are mounting. He's 32 years old. He is owed close to $60 million this upcoming season, and then $63 million with a player option 2027, 2028. But he is going, I mean, you're not going to not extend him. He's going to get a contract extension, and it's going to be probably at least $60 million a year. You would assume. Yeah. So whether that's a 4 or a 5 year, that's up to the teams. But if you get him, you have to make sure that he's healthy. That's number one. He has to be healthy. And if that means limiting him, so like if he does go to a Boston, one of the beautiful things about him going to Boston would be he doesn't have to play all the time, and he can really take those nights off sometimes to keep his health in check, and they will still be good. And when they get to the playoffs, he can turn it on. If he goes to Miami, they would need more pieces to come around him as well. They would need more help. You would immediately have to replace Tyler Hero. Jaime Jaquez, I think, is a fun player. He's great in college, but yeah, we'll see where Giannis goes. It's not going to be the Warriors. I don't think anybody's been reporting on that, and just it's not realistic for the Warriors. But
that came and went during the trade deadline.
It did, but I think the biggest thing for Giannis right now is the age, and I think Boston would be the best move for him and for him to win and for that team to win. If he goes to Miami, I'm not saying they will be a bad team. They'll be a good team. They'll go to the playoffs. I just don't see him winning a title there because they would need to get so much more extra help. Whereas I look at him going to Boston, and it's just like, even without Jaylen Brown, how are you going to defend him and Tatum? And the fact that they can shoot the lights out, it's going to be a very tough ask for every team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, let's just say Giannis, let's put Giannis on Boston this year, right? Let's get rid of Jaylen Brown. Let's put a healthy Giannis on Boston. There's no way the Knicks are favored to win the championship, even knowing what they did this year. It would be Boston. So I think that would be the best case scenario for him. My biggest question is, though, can the man stay healthy? Because he has given his all to the Bucks, and they've kind of run him into the ground in a way, health-wise.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think that going to Boston would be, in my opinion, the better move. Going to Miami, like, it has to be where you attract other free agents this offseason to go play with him. If it's Giannis, Bam Adebayo, and Andrew Wiggins, that's not enough for me to think that they're going to be this juggernaut in the Eastern Conference. If he goes to Boston, different story entirely.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens here, but that's going to heat up pretty soon here. And just another quick thing. We've heard all the stuff with the Warriors and their interest in LeBron James. Monty Poole wrote this a couple days ago. According to Monty Poole, LeBron is strongly considering joining the Warriors. I know it seems crazy. One well-connected league source told NBC Sports Bay Area, but there is at least curiosity on both sides. This wouldn't even be a conversation 5 or 6 years ago. It might not happen now, but there's enough there that we shouldn't ignore the possibility. It's mostly up to LeBron. I would assume that. Monty also adds that the general belief is that James likely will remain in Los Angeles, where he can continue to play alongside his son, Bronny, and stay close with his family. The Lakers can offer a considerably larger contract than Golden State, which tops out at the non-taxpayer mid-level exception of about $15 million. So, yeah, I think in the end, LeBron stays with the Lakers, but you never know. I think it might get close here, but in the end, he's going to go back to LA, and I think he's kind of using other teams as leverage.
But does he want a championship, Derek? Does he want a championship? Give me LeBron. Give me Jimmy Butler. Give me Steph Curry. Give me Kristaps. Give me Draymond Green. I know they're old, but that starting five could beat the Spurs. They could beat the Thunder. They can beat those teams. They can.
You think so?
I believe it. Oh, 100%. If that starting five stays healthy. I don't know who the hell's on the bench. You could end up with a very 2003 LA Lakers type situation where the team is not deep. But I want that. I want that so bad. So even if you have to give LeBron like a 0.5% ownership stake, which is totally illegal and you can't do that, I would do it in a heartbeat just to see the spectacle. That's how insane I am. And I see what Rockin says right here. The Golden State Warriors. Yeah, I mean, they're all old. We know this is ending. So why not go out with a bang? But yeah, it's going to be tough because LA can offer way more money.
Yes, they can. And that's where I think will be the sticking point in the end, where I think that he'll go back to LA, even though we heard all that stuff with LeBron maybe wanting to move on. He opted into his contract a year ago when they were like, oh, we don't really care if you stay or go. And Jeannie Buss had her issues with LeBron, but she doesn't own the team anymore. So, and also JJ Redick's there because of LeBron. So I think in the end, he's going to stay with the Lakers. Now, Kawhi Leonard's a different story. Kawhi Leonard is one that I think he is going to get dealt this offseason, but I saw online, I don't know if this is true or like legit, but like some account is saying that the offer the Warriors would have to give to get Kawhi Leonard would be Jimmy Butler, Brandon Podziemski, and 2 first-round picks. And I'm like, that seems like a lot, and I don't know if I want to do that. I want Jimmy to stay on the team once he's healthy. But you probably have to make that move with these salaries.
I don't think Kawhi is not the old player that I want to mortgage the future of the team on. Let's put it that way. I would for LeBron. I wouldn't for Kawhi. And
it's harder because you have to get a trade with Kawhi and LeBron. You just signed a free agency.
Correct. And I don't want to give up. I know picks are not the most important thing in the world, but I don't want to give for a team that's going to need to go through a rebuild soon. It will be very important. I don't want to give up those future assets for Kawhi Leonard. If there was a way to get him without that, like let's just say the roles were reversed, right? And he was in the LeBron James situation, I would say full court press, try to do whatever you can to get him, even though the other team could pay more money. But with LeBron, with Kawhi rather, that's not the situation. So I don't think that would be a wise move. And Rockin brings it up. Can Kawhi even play 30 games in a season? Yeah, I mean that's another thing.
No, I mean, you have to say that with a lot of guys on the team right now. They're all, I mean, like, when is Jimmy Butler coming back? When is Moses Moody coming back? So, yeah, whatever they do this offseason, I don't think it's going to be, unless they trade for Jaylen Brown. I don't think there's anything that I could see as far as Kawhi or LeBron where I'm like, now that's a move that propels them to the top of the West. Can it make them competitive? Absolutely. I disagree with you. I do think that if they get LeBron, it'll be huge. But I don't think it's where that results in them leapfrogging the Spurs or even the Thunder in the Western Conference.
Who's going to defend LeBron though? Who's going to defend LeBron? That's what I wonder. Who's going to defend LeBron? Who think about Steph Curry and the way he still moves, Derek. I know I'm so in love with this idea, and I have been for some time. But who's going to defend Steph Curry coming off the ball, and then LeBron just like has eyes in the back of his head and passes in 3-pointers everywhere, and LeBron James dunking on people. I don't know. I want that so bad. It's probably not going to happen.
No, but it'd be fun. It would be fun. I would have mixed emotions, but it would be very intriguing. Okay, so we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks here when it comes to the NBA offseason. I think free agency starts on June 30th, but trades could go down as early as next week or maybe even tomorrow, depending on how quickly teams want to move on a Giannis trade right before the draft that takes place on June 23rd. Incredibly sad news yesterday. With the news of the passing of Aldon Smith at the age of 36. When I saw him passing away at age 36, I'm like, man, he's only 1 year older than me. And he had his whole life ahead of him. And when I saw the news, my reaction was, God, that's terrible. And I don't want to be cold-hearted here by any means, but I also was in my mind thinking, not incredibly surprising, considering the past. And I know he was turning a leaf, but you think about everything that happened in the past. So just to remember Aldon Smith, the person, and the player, drafted out of Missouri in 2011, a guy that I don't think was on a lot of people's radars as far as wherever he was drafted. But obviously Trent Baalke saw something there along with Jim Harbaugh, and he flashed right away. I think it was 13 and a half sacks that first season. Him and Justin Smith on that, I think it was that left side of the defense, where they were just dominant. They're just absolutely dominant. The way that, kind of like the way that Von Miller and Aaron Donald were in the Super Bowl. Different, but like Justin Smith would be the guy taking on double teams for the offensive line, and then Aldon Smith's able just to go in there and wreak havoc. And then in 2012, I think it was 19 sacks. He was unbelievable. I mean, people remember that Monday night Chicago Bears game. That was like Colin Kaepernick's coming out party. To me, it was Aldon Smith having 5.5 sacks that night. He could just take a game over. And then after that season, that's where things got weird. 2013, he has the car accident where I guess, I don't want to have the wrong details here, but what I remember was him crashing into a telephone pole, and he had alcohol in his system at the time. So he had to go to rehab. I think, how long did he go away? It was where he was out for 5 games in 2023 while he went to rehab. And then 2014, he has another off the field transgression. He gets suspended for 9 games in 2014, comes back later in the season. But then in 2015, right before the season starts, he gets a DUI arrest and is cut from the 49ers. And then weeks later, I think just a couple weeks later, the Raiders signed him. And I remember that day, I was working with Haberman and Middlecoff, and Daniel Ogden, who produces Tom Tolbert's show, bursted in the room and said, Aldon Smith just got picked up by the Raiders. And we were like, wow, him and Khalil Mack, that's a huge move. But when is he going to play? When is he going to be reinstated by the NFL? And I guess because I forget what happened exactly, but he was able to play that season. He was able to play, I think, the majority of 2015, and then we never saw him again. I remember every offseason in 2016 and 2017, the Raiders defense needed everything. They had Khalil Mack, but they needed more than Khalil Mack, and Aldon Smith would have been great with him. But I remember there was some video he posted. I don't know if you remember this, Alon, where they showed him lighting a blunt on the stovetop, and there were other things that happened. I want to say another DUI arrest. And I mean, it was terrible. And he never was reinstated. He came back years later in 2020 to play with the Dallas Cowboys. And then I think he spent an off season with the Seattle Seahawks. But it was always where something else popped up, another accusation, whether it was, I remember, assault one time, or obviously DUI arrest, or he had trouble with his drinking. And I'll never forget my father saying this repeatedly on the radio. He just saying this loud, like saying it to just everybody out there. Someone help Aldon Smith before something terrible happens to him. And I think people tried. I think there's only so much people could do. I think people tried. I think he tried. I think he tried himself. But in the end, his demons caught up to him. And I think Charles Haley even tried to help him out. And it's sad because I didn't know this, but Bonte Hill tweeted this out yesterday saying that last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, he was just at minicamp with the Niners, giving advice to the young players on the team. And then I guess, I don't know what time of day he passed away yesterday, but incredibly sad, where there's a photo of him in a Knicks jersey, and he goes to, I guess, a charity event yesterday to help out the homeless, passing out like pizzas to everybody. And then he wasn't feeling well, goes to his car and passes away. And we don't know all the details of his death yet. I'll be very interested to hear exactly what caused his death at age 36, but just terrible, absolutely terrible. And it's hard when an athlete dies. Of course, we're going to go to what we remember him, and we remember him as the athlete. But I'll remember Aldon Smith, the person, as I think a guy. I remember him in interviews. He seemed like a fun, a fun guy, a fun-loving guy, but he had his demons, and it just got in the way of what could have been a great career. If I look back at Aldon Smith, the football player, a ton of potential, a ton of talent, a wasted career, honestly, in my opinion. He could have been so much more. And it doesn't mean he could have been so much more as a human being. He had his whole life ahead of him, and it was taken way too short. So, yeah, rest in peace to Aldon Smith, man. That news, it's devastating considering his past and just how tragic it is.
Yeah, I was not surprised by the news. I was still saddened by it. Just not surprising, unfortunately, for Aldon and the perception around him. As far as the player goes, he still has the franchise record for sacks in a season for San Francisco. I mean, in his second year there, 19 and a half sacks is just otherworldly. But the person, yeah, he passes away on the same day that he's out there handing out food to homeless people with CHAM, which is a charity, I believe, in the South Bay. I think he was living in the South Bay still. I read a transcript of an interview with his friend who was with him that day, who I guess works for that charity or whatever. And his friend had said, I walked into the house to go turn some lights on and then come back out. And Aldon said he wasn't feeling very well. And I get there and he's dead in my front seat and I'm freaking out. And his friend had said, I hadn't seen him use any illicit drugs in quite some time or any of that kind of stuff. So his friend, quote, said, I think it was a natural causes death. His friend's not a doctor, of course, but, right. That was the person who was there with him that day. So very sad that happened. It's great to know that one of his final acts was an act of charity. I love that. Yeah. I mean, I think that tells you everything you need to know about the person, regardless of the DUIs or some of the other personal problems or things like that. It was sad that he was suspended for 4 straight years, because I think that did not help. And the NFL, unlike the NCAA, because we talked about this last time, doesn't have a duty to enhance the lives of players. That's just not how that league works. But I do feel confident in saying Aldon is the kind of guy that without football for those years, that probably did not help his life whatsoever. And he was able to come back in 2020. But I didn't know this, like you said, that Bonte Hill tweet, that was news to me about him being around football. That's probably a really positive and good thing for him. But yeah, 36 years old, super young. He lived a hard life in terms of the hell he put his own body through. So that is going to accumulate, but just a very, very sad story. As far as the person, though, I was warmed, even though it was sad, to learn that the last thing he did was something for someone else. I think that was very commendable, and I think that's a good example and a good way to remember him if we're not going to remember just the playing that he did in the league. So sad, always. And it's never fun to eulogize someone, but 36 years old. I mean, it's not like he was 90. It's tough.
Incredibly tough. And yeah, I mean, again, we remember him the football player, but he had his whole life ahead of him to do right. Not, like he battled his demons and he went to rehab and he tried to, change his life. But um, again, we'll see what the cause of death is and we'll go from there. But regardless, just incredibly sad. Only 36 years old.
Mhm.
Terrible. I have nothing else to say, but it's just terrible. There's no easy transition, so we'll just make one here. We got the World Cup underway, Alon. What do you think so far? We had Team USA dominate Paraguay. Was it 4-1?
Yep.
So just your thoughts on the World Cup so far. Fun having a game last night between who was it? It was Australia and Turkey.
Turkey,
I
yep.
love that. So like
Yeah.
right after the NBA Finals ends, you go to a World Cup game. So I enjoyed the hell out of that. What was the game that was going on during the finals? It was one like I asked all my friends. They're like, this is probably the worst matchup they can.
I was watching it, Derek.
You were?
Yeah, I watched the NBA Finals on record.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm so sorry.
No, by all means, man. But it was Scotland and who?
It was Scotland and Haiti. So Scotland
Okay.
hadn't been to the World Cup in about 40 years or something like that, and Haiti hadn't been since like the 1970s. So
wow.
they're kind of like the Knicks. They hadn't been up there
Yeah,
at the
but
mountain.
not
So
not the powerhouses, I would say, Alon.
I watched the first half of that game, and then I immediately went back to the I fast forwarded through the first half of the Knicks Spurs game, and then I was like, "Ooh, this is not great." And then the fourth quarter heated up, of course. But that was the unfortunate game that had the time slot in the USA, of course, of going against the NBA Finals. But that was fun, and apparently Gronk and Julian Edelman are gonna embed with Scotland's fans. I guess they're gonna do the Fox Bros with the Scotland Scotland Army or whatever they call themselves. So that'll be something to look forward to. But yeah, just had a game go final right now. Germany beat Curacao. No surprise there, 7-1.
Whoa.
But yeah, not good for Curacao. But it is Germany. Kai Havertz had a goal.
Yeah.
But it was great to see the USA play so well. And I had been thinking about it, and I called my brother who went to the Qatar Switzerland game in Levi's. He said that was a lot of fun. And then we were talking about the USA, and I said, I don't think I've seen the USA play this well for at least 15 years. And then I went, maybe longer than that. And so I was like, when was the last time I was truly impressed by them? And it was 2009. They beat Spain in the Confederations Cup 2-0. And that was after Spain was coming off of just being this amazing team with European Championship and World Cup and all this stuff. And I was just like, wow, they look so confident. So the World Cup has been fun. Every host nation so far has done really well, whether it's Canada, US, or Mexico. The United States with the most emphatic statement so far. It does get tougher for the United States as things roll on. But I would okay. So real quick, I was disappointed to hear that they were going to have family barbecue day today and all this stuff. I was thinking like, you know what? You get back to the facility, you go get your treatment, you watch some film, you get on the training ground tomorrow, and then you rest and you sequester and you put yourself in a bubble until the next game. I don't want any fun. I just want wins. Damn it.
What are you, Rich Gannon, showing up to the Raiders facility and say like, hey, why are these guys playing PlayStations and playing pool? Come on, they should be watching film here.
That's exactly how I feel. Yeah, Rich Gannon throwing the pool balls against the wall and being like, this is why you guys suck.
Yeah, exactly. Put him back in boxes. And I remember just Gruden, he always tells a story, and then Gruden's just like, I kind of like this guy, man, being an asshole to the rest of the team.
Being an asshole. Yeah, but USA does have Australia, and then they will end up playing Turkey. But this is exactly what they needed. Not only did they get the win, but they also won the game by 3 goals. So even if another team ties them with wins, right, they are the number 1 slot in the goal differential on aggregate. So super important. But yeah, it's been a successful World Cup. I think the world is watching and seeing how just amazing it can be when an entire continent hosts it. I think that's really cool. We've been able to expand the pool of teams, which has been really fun. Our stadiums are the best in the world. There's no question about that. We do have the best stadiums in the world. We have the infrastructure to handle it. So yeah, it's just been a really fun event. And I think what's really awesome for United States fans this time around, we're not waking up at weird hours, right? We're not waking up at 4 a.m. to watch a game. The games are on our local time. Everybody else has to wake up maybe early or late, but we get front row seats at a appropriate time to watch these matches. So it's been really fun. I hope the USA can keep playing like they do. Christian Pulisic was amazing. He was incredible. I haven't seen him so confident on the ball in a long time. Balogun was playing the striker role that USA has needed for a while. So it's fun. It's fun, Derek. I love the World Cup. I always love the summer because baseball's such a fun sport. Well, soccer is a fun sport too. There is rivalry and everything like that, but it just feels good. It's a fun sport.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've been enjoying watching it. So I'll be watching more later today. And yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I missed most of the USA game on Friday because it was going on simultaneously with the show we were doing leading into Giants pregame. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the matchup. What is it next week with USA? They're playing either Australia. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
on Friday at 12 p.m. So you'll be getting into your show. Actually, Juneteenth. Do you guys do a show on Juneteenth?
We do have a show that day, but it's brief. So what time is the match?
Noon.
We may miss it. Well,
you'll have it on in the studio.
Well, yeah, we'll have it on the studio, so we'll have it on the background. But yeah, it's been fun watching the World Cup. All right, Alon, do a little Jackass of the Week. What you got?
I have a very what's the word? Brave, stupid, foolish. Anyway, I have this young man who decided to fight as many Knicks fans as he could find after the Spurs lost the finals. And yeah, we'll just watch some of the video here. It's we're not going to watch all of it, but he's wearing a Rodman jersey and he looks like he's ready for war. And just real quick, he is surrounded by Knicks fans, right? There's not very many Spurs fans to be found here. And he's just going after it. He's just he's saying, who wants this? And that guy tries to punch him from behind. He doesn't care. That's just great constitution on his part, great strength. That guy steals something anyway. So that goes on for about 3 minutes. Finally, he had to get a police escort out of there. So that is my Jackass of the Week.
Was this at MSG, Alon?
I believe so, at a watch party in New York.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'll say this. I did not enjoy, and I've said this before, and this is like an honorable mention for Jackass of the Week, but anybody that attacked a Spurs fan this week in New York for just wearing a jersey, you're a jackass. That's not fun. That's not fun fan behavior. It's stupid. That guy, he could take it on. It looks like so. He almost looks like the Incredible Hulk, just taking on like so many people at once. He was actually pretty impressive. You think he's jackass worthy though, Alana? I was like, actually, I'm kind of impressed by that guy. He's probably hero of the week.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the thing. We don't know who started it, whether it was the 200 Knicks fans around him or if it was him. So if it was him,
I got to believe. Sorry, like reasonable doubt here. I got to believe it's the Knicks fans.
Yeah, well, he looked like he could definitely hold his own. So maybe the better part of valor was just to get out of the situation. But he didn't get arrested. It doesn't look like. It looks like the police actually just escorted him away from the premises for his own safety. I don't think for his own safety. I think for everybody else's, because that guy looked like an absolute destroyer. But looked like he's my Jackass of the Week because you shouldn't fight after sporting events, Derek.
Yeah, but if 200 people are coming after you, you got to have self-defense. I just like him rocking a Rodman jersey, where Rodman he briefly was with the Spurs.
That's the jersey he has.
I know.
That's the one he wore. He put that on and went, man. If we're losing tonight, I'm not losing. I'm gonna win tonight. That's what he did. But yeah, Jackass of the Week because I don't like fighting. Don't fight.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. And also he kind of just like looks like Kimbo Slice in a Spurs jersey, and just like you next. He's unbelievable. My Jackass of the Week is Brandon Ayuk. Just the videos, I'm tired of it. They're dumb. And to call the 49ers stupid. And then this new one that he posted today where he's dancing, and it says coming to an end zone near you. And he's doing like a weird little penguin dance. There's no audio on this thing, so you guys are seeing what he posted here. It's just him dancing, and either he knows something's up pretty soon here, or he's just doing his same old troll job. So he just wants attention on social media. He should just, shut up. As Danny Dunn says here in the chat, stop running from the belt, Derek. Yeah, like everybody's going to run from the belt, Braden. So, yeah, I hope this gets resolved pretty soon here. I understand the 49ers, their rationale for wanting to keep him and to kind of, I guess not punish him, but let it be known to other people, or let it be known to other players that if you try to do this to us, you're not going to be able to just to go with any team you want to. So I kind of get in that regard, but also I kind of understand it from the perspective of Nick Wagner, who wrote this week, or I think he was on like some Commanders podcast saying like, why not just release this guy? Like, it doesn't matter at this point. He's just so toxic. Like, get away from him. I understand that. Also, Matt Barrows wrote that with Ayuk, it's not where he could just show up to the facility anytime. It's where he has to be reinstated because he was on the left team list. So I think that's easy, where he has to either talk to the 49ers or talk to the NFL ahead of time before he shows up to the facility. But this is where his agent, Ryan Williams, needs to step in and be like, can we just stop this thing? Like, I'll make sure he stops posting videos. I'll make sure he deletes the first 2 videos he posted this week. And just make sure my guy can, like, just leave. Like, just go ahead and, like, just get off the team. Because I don't think the Niners care that he's posting this shit, but at the same time, it's going to be there in July if they don't release him. It's going to be there where Tim Kawakami and others are going to ask Kyle Shanahan, what's the deal with Brandon Ayuk? And he's like, same old, same old. And they may not care. They may not budge on that. But if I was running the 49ers, my decision would be like, we have a great offseason going. We got Mike Evans. We got Osa Digizua. The vibes are good. Let's just fucking cut this guy and be done with him.
Yeah, you don't need that cloud hanging over your head. You really don't. Also, the dance, penguin dance.
I don't know what the hell's up there.
I don't know what that is. And is that intimidating? Is that like other teams are going to watch this? So he's going to get signed, right? Well, eventually, probably by the Commanders.
Sounds like it.
I don't know. If he stops doing this, he definitely will. But that's going to be the ultimate bulletin board material for every single cornerback in the league who gets to cover him. They're going to clown him so hard over that. And we don't even know if he can still play at the level he used to play because of the injuries. So, yeah, he's just got to stop this. The Niners got to get rid of him. How would you rate the dance, Derek, out of 10?
Like a 2.
Yeah. Is he going to do that when he says coming to an end zone near you? Is that going to be his new touchdown dance?
I'm hoping that he found out that tomorrow is going to be the day where he gets cut, and he's just doing a happy dance because tomorrow he'll immediately sign with the Commanders. It sounds like that's the case. But if it's where he's practicing end zone dances in June, I don't give a shit. I don't.
Well, I definitely think he's a larger jackass than the apparently the chat is with you, Derek, and maybe rightfully so. A courageous man that I chose as jackass of the week for my part. But yeah, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, until this is the sad part for him, and this show, it's a never-ending story, which is kind of awesome. But until he gets cut, Derek, he could always be our jackass of the week. That's what's so amazing about Brandon Ayuk. He's the gift that keeps on giving.
That is true. I don't know if it's a gift, more of a curse. Pop culture catch-up, Alon. Have you seen anything recently?
So I saw the back rooms last week or whatever it was. I did see a new trailer for a movie I want to go see. I haven't gone and seen it yet, but it's called The Furious, and it looks like it's martial arts and a lot of like kung fu kind of stuff, and like people hitting each other with ladders. So that looks pretty fun. But I've been so entrenched in the World Cup and the NBA Finals and the NHL Finals that I haven't watched anything new, Derek, except I did find a YouTube channel, not the Teletubbies conspiracy one, but I have been watching a YouTube channel that loves to talk about who should actually have won the Defensive Player of the Year award in the NBA. And this guy just re-ranks it all the way he wants it to be ranked. So I've been watching that quite a bit. I've been watching a lot of greatest this, greatest that. Not really pop culture, but it's on YouTube, so it's social.
I think we have a good slate of movies coming out pretty soon here. I got to find a day to watch Disclosure Day, the new Steven Spielberg movie, dealing with aliens. Emily Blunt's the lead. Intrigued with that one. I am intrigued with Toy Story 5. I know that maybe too many with Toy Story. It should have ended after 3, but it's getting great reviews in the day and age we live in now, where so many kids are antisocial and they play on their iPads as opposed to playing with toys. I'm very intrigued how they go about that. Jackass, the last one. I always love Jackass. I don't care what age you are. People love seeing people get hit in the nuts. And then the Odyssey. That might be the biggest movie of the summer with Christopher Nolan. Anytime he makes a movie, people are going to go see it, unless it's Tenet during COVID, and that's a hard watch sometimes. Pat H in the chat here is asking me real quick, Derek, do you still have Astound? No, I upgraded to Google Fiber. And let me know if my internet's crapping out on me again. As Dan Dunn in the chat here says, get back to the theaters, Derek. I will, Dan. I will. Damn it. I just got to find time. And Danny Dunn loves his shows. Finished up the new Malcolm in the Middle Solid Legacy series, only 4 episodes. All right. Okay. I never was a huge Malcolm in the Middle.
Sorry. Go ahead. They made a new Malcolm in the Middle?
They did. Frankie Muniz, Bryan Cranston, the mom, Dewey. I think most of them came back, if I'm not mistaken. Danny will correct me though if that's not right.
Interesting. I didn't know Frankie had the time to do that with his racing career.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I remember he really taking it seriously from Miracle in Lane 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes. And I love talking about this movie. If anybody saw the Disney Channel movie, Disney Channel used to make some of the best movies. Like Brink was great. My Date with the President's Daughter was a great movie. But yes, what are those cars called? The soapbox cars or whatever?
Soapbox. He was a loser. He luged.
Yeah. Well, wasn't he also in one where he was in a wheelchair or whatever? Was that Frankie Muniz as well?
I think that was the same movie.
Same movie, yes. And then he races soap, and the rival. He's got to use hand controls, and the rival dad.
Yeah,
the rival's dad is like, "Hey, that's illegal," and it's like putting weights in his kid's car, and he's just like, "He can't race. We don't like wheelchair people racing in our." It's so bad. That's basically the plot of the movie, being like, "You can't use hand controls. This is illegal."
Yeah, I remember it vaguely, but I remember, God, Disney Channel original movies were great back then. Yeah, Rockin' New Era in the chat here says Luck of the Irish. I remember that one too. Brink, Johnny Tsunami, all of them were pretty fun. Smart House was great. Smart House was a great movie. Yeah. I did see I'm a big fan of Martin Short. I say Martin for the YouTube chat. There's a new documentary out on Netflix about his career. And man was just, he's still alive. We do a lot of documentaries on people that are still living these days, where Martin Short was just beloved by Hollywood. He used to have this place in Canada called Snug Harbor, where literally celebrities would come and hang out with him. Tom Hanks, Steve Martin, Catherine O'Hara, the late great Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, even Kurt Russell, when they were doing Captain Ron, wanted to go hang out with Martin Short. So, I incredibly talented. In my opinion, kind of similar to Robin Williams in a way, but never got his opportunities that Robin got. So, yeah, enjoyed watching that documentary on Martin Short. And then lastly here, Larry David's coming out with a new show, Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Unhappiness. I think that comes out on June 26th on HBO. It's where he's going to do some sketches and put himself in historical moments in history. But I do want to play this. This is from the Rich Eisen show. Many celebrities showed up to Madison Square Garden to watch the Knicks have that epic comeback against the Spurs. And Larry David was there in attendance. People showed the image of him when Josh Hart missed that layup, and he's like, "Oh my God, no!" And Larry went on with Eisen talking about how he's this is so Larry David and how insecure and neurotic he is, where he's like, I'm usually the guy that misses that moment. I can't believe I was actually there. But this is Larry David talking about his encounters with Victor Wembanyama. And also, could he maybe play a little bit of basketball if he had Victor Wembanyama's height?
At any point in time, did you think of tripping Wemby, putting your feet out? Did you think that's the only way that you could have stopped him in the first half?
I'm very foot conscious now.
Because you were right there. Your seats are right next to the Spurs bench.
Yeah, the Spurs have an assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's okay for Mitch Johnson to stand up the whole time. Okay. Yeah. But so a lot of times you're standing right in front of me, and I'm going, okay, come on, Mitch. But they have an assistant coach.
Yeah.
And he's also going back and forth. And I'm starting to yell at him. I'm going, hey man, come on, give us a break here.
So are you saying he's not highly ranked enough to block your view?
Exactly. The coach you can accept blocking views. Even then, I think it's rude. I think the coach should have a little consideration for people watching the game. You can't see anything. But okay, he's the coach. But still, if I was the coach of a team, I'd be thinking, these people, I won't get up.
That sounds a lot like George giving a seat to the security guard because he's standing all day.
That's exactly right.
Similar
he's concerned
level
about the security guards, and he wants them to be comfortable. But to have two of them up and down like that's not good. It's a little showy. Do you need the assistant running up and down in front of you screaming? We don't need that. How important could that be, what he's screaming out? Can't the coach scream out what he's screaming out?
What is it like to see Wembanyama in person? How massive is he physically as he's walking to check in right in front
the
of
giant. But I was thinking this today.
Okay.
I was thinking that with my game, my game underneath, I had underneath, I had a lot of moves,
Yeah, understood. Your post level.
My post, even outside, I had some moves outside. I can go left. Okay. I was able to go left and put up a jumper. I was thinking with my game,
yes,
if you put me at 7'4", I think I would be that good. I really do.
If you had Wembanyama's height, that's the only difference here.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
okay.
That's exactly right.
Neck up, neck down, you could be him if you're only 7'4".
Easily. Okay. Yeah.
I like
my game could have translated. My game could have translated to the NBA if I was 7'4". Yes, I believe that for sure.
Classic Larry David, man. That is so him to complain about the assistant coaches interfering with the view of him on the floor, and him just saying like, does the assistant coach need to scream out too? That's just obviously he's joking, but that's so Larry David. Where one of his classic bits is, I think I could coach the NFL. It's not too hard. Hey, come up with some plays. Yeah.
No, it's. I love that, and I kind of think he does have a point, to be honest, about
with Wembanyama.
No, he has no point about Wembanyama. I was thinking in my head, I was like, I should get ChatGPT to make Larry David 7'4" and put him in a basketball gym. Maybe we'll show that on the next episode.
That would be fun. That would be very funny.
I think he does have a point about the assistant coach, right? I mean, the coach, he can stand there. I get that, but I do agree. Like, you don't want to be doing this all game, and you got those great seats. You don't want to be leaning left and right. Show some consideration for the fans.
I hear you a little bit, but also I don't think they give a damn about any of that stuff. Last one here before we get out of here. This just dropped while we were on the air, and I always enjoy these videos. And I want to give them the proper credit here. It's the Side Talk where they do all of the Knicks fans. This just dropped with their reaction last night to win the championship. Do you have this, Aldon, that I just sent you?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, so for our moment of zen, which is not really zen, but if anything, no, this is more chaotic than anything zen. Here's Knicks fans last night celebrating their first championship since 1973.
We fucking did it! We burning this city down, nigga! You see a sports fan, we flocking! NYPD, he's fucking back up! Nigga! Wemby, you a dead man walking! Wemby, get ready to entertain me! Jalen, when I catch you, you better know it's Pride Month. I'm gonna suck your fucking dick! I'm taking my last name to Brunson! They got me right, nigga! Fuck you, Donald Trump! Fuck San Antonio's fat ass winning! Wemby, your long ass dick, I'm gonna suck it if you wanna pull up. We gonna send you fucking France, nigga! Fuck France, nigga! We from USA! Champion! Fuck Trey Young! Fuck Wemby! He's the biggest pussy in Texas! This shit is fucking crazy! Oh, yeah, no! Fuck that shit, yeah! You are the one, nigga! Get it, nigga!
Holy shit. Well, they stomping on fish? What the?
I don't get. Yeah, what's the fish? Also, shout out to Trey Young once again. But what was the fish?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Wembanyama's become the new Trey Young, although Trey Young had more fun with it. I don't know. All I know is that is thoroughly entertaining to me. If it's all done in good jest and people are not lighting cars on fire or beating up Spurs fans, that's fun to me. That's fun to me right there.
They have lost their minds. That city has absolutely lost their minds.
Get ready for the parade, my friend. I don't know when that's going down, but I think we'll react to it when we do the next show on Wednesday. We'll probably be on a little earlier, if that's cool with you, Alon.
Fine.
Because we got some early Giants games coming up this week, so some short shows for me. We'll be back on Wednesday. We'll see if things heat up with the NBA offseason. And I'm hoping that Brandon Ayuk gets released, but I'm not going to guarantee that's going to happen, or hold my breath, I should say. And then we got the World Cup still going on. So we'll do all of that on Wednesday. To everybody in the chat, thanks to Ernie One, thanks to Rocka New Era, thanks to Pat H, thanks to Danny Dunn, thanks to Danny Golding TV, and I believe that is it. All right, everybody, we will see you on Wednesday. Alon, say what you always say, my friend.
Hey, there were a lot of people that thought Haiti, Scotland wasn't as big of a deal as the NBA Finals, but that's just their opinion, man.
That's probably your best one yet. I like